So, good morning to everyone. This room has a very special configuration. Feel free to come closer if you want, so that this could help the conversation. We still have one panelist that is arriving here, but she is stuck in traffic. So we can start even if with some minutes of delay. All right, so this session will be dedicated to building the AI Commons. My name is Luca Belli, I'm professor at FGV Law School, where I direct the Center for Technology and Society. And together with some friends, including Henriette Esterhuizen from APC, that is not here, but it is today substituted by Valeria Milanes from APC, Valeria Betancourt from APC, and Valeria Betancourt from APC, and also Alek Tarkovsky that is joining us online. So we decided 5 years ago to create this Internet Commons Forum as an annual pre-event of the Internet Governance Forum dedicated to exploring how digital commons, internet commons, and now AI commons can be built, and to what extent the concepts of commons can be associated to various expressions of digital items. Today with me to explore these issues, there will be, of course, Valeria Betancourt that will co-moderate the first segment of the session with me. Then we will have an introductory keynote by Renata Avila, who's CEO of the Open Knowledge Foundation and should be already online. Then we will have the first segment with Dr. Syed Iftikhar, that is the research director at digital research director at the Digital Cooperation Organization. We will have joining us online Amreen Taneja from the Digital Public Goods Alliance and UNICEF. Then we will have Dr. Bianca Kremer that I was mentioning before. She is stuck in traffic, but she's arriving here from CGI. She's board member of CGI.br and also my colleague at CTS FGV. We will have a little bit of question and answer to reflect of the hopefully provoking statements of the panelists, and then we will continue with the second segment with Alek Tarkovsky, Director of Strategy at Open Future, and then last but of course not least, Guru Murthy Kasinanthan, who is Director of IT for Change from India. So to start, let's try to have an understanding of what we are speaking of, right? When we speak about AI Commons, we speak about considering the elements that constitute AI as common resources, be it data, be it algorithmic models, being compute. And so the provoking question from which we want to start in this session is it possible to associate the commons, the concept of commons, to the concept of AI? And we know from decades of studies of commons, even of Nobel Prize winner Elinor Ostrom, that commons is something feasible as long as there is governance in place. So a common resource is only as manageable as it is effective, the governance that allows to manage it, right? And here we can already see that there is some tension with, for instance, generative AI, where and AI training in general, where a lot of environmental resources are under strain because there is overusage of water or electricity to build and to maintain computing facilities. There is massive scraping of personal data or content created by creators that is publicly available online, but does not mean that that can be hoovered and used for any purpose to train any kind of model for any kind of reason, because that is clearly in tension with the data protection frameworks we have on the one hand, the copyright and IP frameworks we have on the other hand. So we clearly see that even if there is some governance and regulation already in place, the way in which AI is being built in terms of infrastructure, creates tension with environmental regulation in terms of data and algorithmic models, create tension with at least IP and data protection regulation. And so the understanding here is which kind of governance can lead us to have an AI commons. Is it possible to build it, or is it simply an ideal that we cannot achieve? I will immediately give the floor to Valeria Betancourt to provide her introductory remark and then to introduce our first speaker, Renata. Please, Valeria.
Thank you, Luca. I think you have touched upon the critical aspects that are related to building a commons logic around artificial intelligence. And from a governance point of view, obviously, openness, inclusion, accountability, and transparency are core elements also to an eventual AI commons. And because digital justice and digital transformation should go together, I think it is going to be very important to hear from Renata Avila, the CEO of Open Knowledge Foundation, in terms of the type of paradigm that we need from a governance point of view if we want to achieve digital justice built and supported by commons around artificial intelligence. So without taking more time, I would like to give Renata the opportunity to provide her opening speech. So Renata, welcome, and we are all here to hear you.
Renata, can you hear us? Can we have Renata on? Renata is connected, but she cannot speak. So if we can unmute her and also open her camera, please. And also ability to share slides. Can we give Renata privileges to share slides, share her video, and share her audio, please? Now sharing is turned on. So Renata, now you should be able to see us and you should be able to speak and share your slides. Renata, can you hear us? Can you try now to speak and share your slides, Renata? So they can hear us, but they are not able to share. So let's do something. Not to lose any more time, because time is money. I propose we go on with the first in-person speaker, Dr. Syed Iftikhar, while we solve the online, the remote participation problems, right? So we have highlighted, as I was mentioning before, that the concept of commons can be applied to AI only if we have governance, a governance system that supports the management, the effective management of the resource that we need to deal with, data, algorithms, compute, and therefore governance is an essential pillar of any kind of AI management, from the commons to any other type of configuration. The Digital Cooperation Organization, which is a very recent intergovernmental organization, has developed some very interesting approaches to AI governance, and specifically focusing on the member states, but also trying to scale it up. So please, Dr. Syed, if you could provide us a little bit of insights on the work that you have been conducting.
Thank you very much, Luca, for asking this interesting question. So first I described the DCO. As you see, Luca explained that we are not too much old organizations. The Digital Cooperation Organization was established in November 2020. So it is a unique global multilateral and intergovernmental organizations. The DCO vision and mission focus on achieving social prosperity and enhancing the growth of global sustainable digital economy. DCO has 16 member states that combine a population of 800 million populations across the globe, and there is a combined GDP about 3.5 trillion USD dollars. We have within DCO ecosystem, we have observers, more than 40, and we have partners as well. AI technology is at the heart of DCO agenda. Therefore, DCO is performing information provider and advocate role to promote the adoption of responsible and ethical AI for the DCO member standard across the countries of the world. Now I come to Luca questions, the global AI governance approaches. There are two major school of the thoughts. One is a principles-based approach, another is a prospective regulatory framework-based approach. When we are talking about the principle-based approach, it is adopted by US, Singapore, and OECD. Such principles include transparency, explainability, global cooperation, and accountability, purposing to boost an ecosystems where AI and Gen AI tools can be developed, deployed in a secure, safe, and fair manner. When we are talking the second school of thought about the AI governance, it's a prospective regulatory framework-based approach. This approach is adopted by European Union and China. Basically, this approach is more focused on identifying risk and setting the rules in advance to prevent potential harm, while strong enforcement measures theirs. It is pertinent to mention that the principle-based approach provides flexibility and adaptability. The prospective regulatory framework offers more clarity and enforceability. However, there is essence to for finding the right balance between these two approaches, which is critically effectively for the to govern AI while promoting the innovation and ensuring ethical, legal, secure safeguards. So this is somehow the two standard approaches. Now I just give you highlights about our member states, what exactly how they are approaching the AI governance approaches, because we have representation from different region of the world. Like where you see the Saudi Arabia, the national strategy for data and AI is aiming to position the Saudi Arabia at within our DCO members at the top for AI development. This strategy is more focused on heavily on skills, investment, and regulation, while also emphasizing on the AI entrepreneurship as well. Saudi Arabia, Sadaya also introduced the guidelines for Gen AI. They are more focused on responsible development and use of Gen AI as well. Similarly, Jordan, they introduced AI strategy and implementation plan from 2023 to 2027, aims to implement the country AI policy for from 2020. This approach focus on economic and social aspects. Similarly, Pakistan, the Ministry of Information Technology, Government of Pakistan is also creating AI policy with the consultation of stakeholders to transform the country to knowledge-based economy and to promote the responsible development. Greece and Cyprus, they are following the EU AI Act and they are more focused on the risk-based regulatory framework. I just give a overview about the Ramada. They introduced AI policy in 2023, and they are also focused on the responsible and ethical AI, and they also propose to establish a responsible AI office within the government Ministry of ICT and Innovations to promote the ethical and responsible AI. So this is from my side, Kuluka. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm just following up 1 second with Syed, and then I'm going back to Renata. Actually, this is a very good point because it resonates what you were mentioning about also Saudi Arabia investing a lot. It's actually, this is a very explicit regulatory stance. So we last year in the coalition data and AI governance of the IGF, we released a report on AI sovereignty, transparency, and accountability. And something that we highlighted is the fact that investments are a type of regulation. And there is, I think that besides the principal approach and the risk-based approach, we can really identify an investment-based approach, which is putting money. Of course, you have to have the financial resources like Saudi Arabia to do this, but it's a way of shaping how AI will be produced and will be used by directing the development through investments, which is a very interesting point. Just a follow-up, a very quick follow-up question, because as you mentioned that you have observers, and CTS FGV is one of your observers. We have also contributed to, we are participating in the shaping of this AI readiness toolkit that you are developing, which is a very important element. And I would like to spend just a couple of minutes to share with the participants some insight on this, because it's a very interesting tool that you are using to support the members in shaping data and AI governance.
Thank you, Luca. As I explained, the AI is at the heart of the DCO agenda, and we are in the process of developing a different initiative focus on AI, and particularly the AI governance. One of the initiatives, like Luca already mentioned, is AI Toolkit. AI Readiness Toolkit is some sort of a collection of practice-based artifacts that help the member state and other than the member state how to assess their AI readiness, and based on their AI readiness, they can adopt AI. And we also providing somehow a AI playbook. So basically, it's also contain state-of-the-art standards frameworks on different aspects of AI, and particularly the AI governance. This basically AI toolkit is emphasized on the AI governance perspective, and particularly enable the country to how they contribute towards the governance perspective and the regulation perspective. This also toolkit give a more impression and more guidance to the member states how basically they contribute to the global AI governance standards. So this is how this is not a theoretical toolkit. Basically, we create now we are in the phase of piloting this toolkit in our 3 member states. We are targeting the Jordan, Kuwait, and the Ghana. So now basically we created this, co-created this toolkit, and now we're implementing this toolkit in our member state to test it, pilot it, so that it will be holistic and it will be implemented across the board, not only to the DCO member states. Another, we have initiatives. We recently launched an initiative on a global center of excellence on Gen AI. And the champion is Saudi Arabia. And the objective of this center of excellence is to promote multilateral cooperation on Gen AI, and to assist the countries of the world, particularly the member state, how they grab the benefits and opportunities from the Gen AI. And another thing is that we are creating a platform through this initiative, so that the countries of the world can develop ethical and responsible Gen AI solutions. So this is one of the initiatives. Another, we are also creating some. The third initiative is on responsible AI tool. So this is also more focused on the AI governance perspective. And we are supporting to the countries, and particularly the member state, how they embed ethics how basically they address the human rights issues, risks when implementing the AI. So this is also a toolkit very useful. Thank you very much. So this is somehow our few initiatives.
Fantastic. Do we have Renata now? Yes, fantastic. Excellent. Renata, we can see you. Let's see if we can also hear you. Can we allow Renata to speak? Because she's muted. Okay, Renata, can you speak again? We cannot hear you. I cannot hear. Can we try to solve the technical issue that impedes Renata from speaking? Try to click unmute. All right. As we have, let's try to see if the other online speaker, Amreen, is Amreen here? Sorry, technical assistance. Could you check if Amreen Taneja is here? And let her speak if Renata cannot speak. Is it possible to have any of our remote speakers speaking? All right, as the show must go on, let's then anticipate our open floor session. So to give, I guess we have several participants here that might be interested in sharing their view about whether the AI Commons concept is something that may be achieved, and how and to what extent governance is instrumental to Hello, Renata, can you we see you, Renata, now. We see the transcripts about your voice. Great. We are also starting sort of hearing you. I think we have almost found a technical solution to have you speaking. Do we have Do we have Renata?
Hi.
Hey, Renata. Can you try to speak and present now, Renata?
It is very difficult because I can hear an echo. I don't know if you can hear me well. Can you hear me well?
Well, we can hear you very far, and when I speak, there is a huge echo. So it will be. Now it should be okay. I don't hear echo anymore. Can you try to speak? Yes, Renata, Renata.
I didn't understand what you said. Should I start?
Yes.
Okay, thank you and apologies. It is very difficult, but I guess it happens even in internet-related events. So what I want to talk today about is the possibilities that AI have. If we think about if we frame it as a commons instead of as this absurd race to the best, biggest, and fastest AI systems, is that we can. My presentation is about how another digital architecture is possible and how within this digital architecture we should frame the future of AI within a commons vision instead of seeing it as a competition between countries or a competition between sectors. What we should is imagine a digital future where with a different set of values and a different set of principles, a different set of governance, and a different allocation of resources to achieve a better digital future and at the end of the day achieve improvement in people's lives. So basically what I haven't seen at scale. I have seen many efforts, but I haven't seen a scale when we talk about AI is a future where we can be active participants, where we can actively shape the future of these technologies together. And basically, my call to the attendees of the IGF in Riyadh is like, let's abandon the narrative of apocalyptic AI or a system impossible to govern and a system impossible to audit. Let's abandon that narrative that it is not helping us. I mean, it is important to keep going our work on accountability and our work on auditability, but we need in parallel, just for a moment, stop and imagine the AI future we could build together. And the AI future that we could build together will need absolutely different design principles. We have to consider the positives. Among the positives is that we have today the most educated generation ever. Never before the world had so many well-educated people, that is not only well-educated, but interested in building a better world. Not only well-educated and interested in building a better world, but also, which is very, very important, concerned about the actual future of the world. Never before we were like connected at this scale. And so it is very important to grab that possibility and to remind ourselves that the most important element of any AI future is not data, is not the super sophisticated technologies, is not the outcomes, is the people that can be part of this collective project. And so one of the most important things is to realize the potential of an AI commons, and that is not only a governance system of data sets. It goes beyond just data sets. And AI commons meeting universal design principles to advance people's rights. Imagine if engineers, instead of having as a principle the guiding principles efficiencies or increased profitability, will consider as the first step when designing the AI systems to embed in their technologies universal principles to advance rights as a mandate. That's the first principle that I have in mind when I think of framing differently the AI commons. The second is always remember and consider that we are building upon other people's knowledge instead of extracting. One of the things that I always remember is how brutal the copyright enforcers were against, from India to Latin America, students photocopying books, and how tolerant the system has been with a few companies extracting all this, photocopying gazillions of data to feed the AI systems. So an AI common system will always depart from the acknowledgement that is building upon other people's knowledge. And it is building upon the knowledge of not only data points, but knowledge of communities. And it is not only the knowledge living in the data sets, but it's the knowledge living in the practices and in the sectorial practices of the sectors that it is going to affect. The third is the participatory approach that an ideal AI Commons should have. And this participation, and it should be participatory and accessible at every stage of the process. Something that it is that we have as civil society focused intensely is in auditing the algorithms. But actually, the vision that we have at the Open Knowledge Foundation is more broad. We need to be in the room when even someone, especially for public systems, decides why do we need an AI system. And sometimes at that very initial stage, the decision will be stopped. The decision will be like, actually, we could find better ways to do this without AI. And actually, that will help us narrow the AI systems to the task that it really excels in doing, instead of proliferating AI experiments that are like very taxing on the planet. And the participatory approach at every stage of the process in an AI Commons, ideally, the community governing the AI Commons will make sure of the effects of these systems. And in this feeding loops process, it will make sure of to fix the system and improve it constantly, and or simply discard it when it is affecting others, with unintended consequences, and park it. Having the ability in an AI Commons structure to switch systems off, to decide to switch a system off in this participatory approach is going to be key. And of course, inclusion is multidimensional. Dimensional is not only the feedback loops, but also accessible tools and resources to make it a reality. The third is reproducible in our terms. Imagine that an AI Commons of language models in Africa makes a breakthrough that makes us very, very, very easy to do something as important as primary education. Imagine how nice it would be to have the ability to reproduce it and localize it in other communities, let's say in the Caribbean. As part of the magic of an AI Commons is that it will be creating enablers to share the breakthroughs on determined AI system, to transfer the technology that is not only the data. Actually, the data set might be irrelevant, but all the how to was done to other countries. Then sustainable, not only for the planet, but for the people, the communities working on it. We have seen the extractive and unsustainable practices that AI processes have today. Imagine a future in an AI common systems where everybody is appreciated and labor standards, but also volunteer standards excel. Generative, of course, activating the creative power of individuals, but also communities, rooted in the local, but interoperable, and with exponential impact. As I said before, an AI Commons, when we decide for AI, it has to be a very careful decision because of the impact it has. It shouldn't be a trend. It shouldn't be like a proliferation of AI as the magic buzzword to solve problems everywhere. Sometimes the technical, and it's an approach that we are pushing forward at the Open Knowledge Foundation. Sometimes the technological solution is very simple and it's very cheap. It's very lightweight and very low tech. So the exponential impact has to be one of the values that pushes an AI Commons to actually pursue the final goal in implementing the AI systems. And those are just initial thoughts on some guiding principles for an AI Commons that is not only about data, but some of the aspects that were also addressed by the previous speaker are literacies. We need literacy. Like if we imagine the creation of AI Commons, we need to fix first the big gaps of knowledge, or fix while we are doing so, the big gaps of knowledge and literacies that we face, not only about AI, but also about democratic governance, participation, collaboration, and so on. Communities will have a key role to play in interconnecting the different AI Commons nodes, as I imagine it, standards as well, and tools. I guess that the vast investments that an AI system needs can be transferred and can be localized and can be reproduced depending on the areas of AI that we are talking about. But if we are thinking, and if we narrow the AI Commons vision as AI Commons that will be designed to address the most pressing problems of our times, I guess that there's already coordination in the sectors, and AI is a tool that can enable those already organized communities to govern a resource as such. It shouldn't be like, my point is, it shouldn't be like, divorced from the communities that are like working already in solving the problems. And that's it. Basically summarizing my vision of AI Commons goes beyond data, includes skills, includes communities, includes the communities working already in the topics that an AI solution is trying to address, and focuses on sustainability. And sustainability cannot be done without democratic governance, without collaborative processes, and without having clarity in the, of course, resourcing and so on.
Yes.
That's my very, very short presentation. I'm conscious of time, and I'm happy to get any feedback, reaction, or questions.
Thank you very much, Renata.
Is this working better? Can we solve this problem? Sorry. Can we solve the problem of echo, because we keep on having echo on the audio? Thank you. Sorry, Renata. Sorry, all the participants for this problem. Hopefully now, yes, we should have another online speaker now. Amreen. Do we have Amreen online? Do we have Amreen online? So Amreen, can you unmute yourself? Amreen, she is leading the Digital Public Goods Alliance on an AI tool, an AI standard that could be utilized to, let's say, translate the principles and normative work that the Digital Public Goods Alliance has been doing in terms of digital public goods standards to better frame AI systems as digital public goods. So this is a very important topic to be brought into our discussion. Do we have Amreen?
Yes, can you hear me?
Amreen, can you try to unmute yourself?
Yes, it seems that I'm unmuted. Can you hear me? Can you hear me in the IGF room?
She is trying to speak, but we don't hear her.
It seems that everyone in the Zoom room can hear. I hear a lot of echo here.
The transcript people are hearing you.
I hear a lot of echo, but I hope I'm audible now.
Assistants will be able to solve this problem.
And if it's possible, if you can switch the video on as well. Thank you.
Yes. If we could switch
Okay.
the video and audio to have
Okay. Am I audible? All right. Yeah. Am I audible now? I'm not.
So, Amreen, can you?
Yes, I can, but I'm not able to switch it on from my
Yes.
end.
Can we have her video and also Yes,
Yes, but
Amreen,
it
can you
says that
switch
I
on your
cannot
camera?
start my audio because the host has stopped it.
All right. So let's try to again the proposal of while we try to solve all main technical issues. I think we have enough material now to start having discussions with our participants on freedom. We have brought, I hope you have read online some questions that we would like to address with you. First, in what ways can the concept of commons help address biases and inequities of AI systems? What are the regulatory and governance implications of community-based governance in the AI commons? And then, is it possible, if so how, to leverage AI commons to accelerate progress towards achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals? And last but not least, what interests and actors have interest opposed to the success of an AI commons, and what strategic elements are needed to cope with such interests? All right. I'm seeing Amreen on the screen. So now if you all have heard the questions, let's pose the questions and try to see if we can also hear Amreen. Amreen, can you try to speak?
Yes, sure. Am I audible?
We cannot hear you. So let's come back to the question. So in terms of first, to what extent AI could be useful to achieve SDGs? To what extent the AI commons is feasible? And then what are the interests that can oppose this kind of conceptualization and even the implementation, which is of course essential for the concept to make the conceptualization something real. And we were speaking about in the very introduction of this workshop about the fact that governance is an essential element of commons management, as we have very dense literature, especially from the Nobel Prize winner Elinor Ostrom about this. So let's have a round of feedback, comments from the audience. Does anyone in the audience want to chip in and provide comments, feedback on this question? Don't be shy. Yes. And please introduce yourself, state your name, and you can have everything on screen.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Chin, and from the Ping AI Artificial Intelligence. Yes, I think that the discussion of comment has been going on for quite a long time. But the thing is, I think this kind of So my question is, so if we all agree with that big picture, how can we implement it in practice? For example, local common has to be something like the infrastructure, or I don't know whether it's CPC, or calculation power, data, or algorithms. So that's the question. Because the common has to be kind of regulatory, or even we say beyond the governance, but still has to be legal by some kind of thing in order to implement it. That's my question for the panels.
This is a very good point. Yes, Valeria has answered this $1 billion question.
I have an answer, but I have to explain what this goes against the commons. Perhaps an approach that we should explore with the AI approach to commons today. AI is similar to what has been happening around the access and digital inclusion. So it has to come from the peripheries, and then when we are developing autonomous infrastructure for connecting to the internet, and by that also contributing to build commons around the internet. So I suppose that a similar approach can be adopted and embraced around artificial intelligence. I really like what Renata said in relation to the communities having the opportunity to look at the various solutions, because it could be that artificial intelligence is not necessarily the solution, but the solution is actually artificial intelligence. It has to come from the perspective of the communities in order to build those principles in whatever solution is in response to specific reality. So I think there is my message is there is a lot to learn from community networks movement and other movements that are working around the commons, and how we can extrapolate those lessons to a commons approach to artificial intelligence.
All right. That is actually a very good point. Also, that we were raising in the previous session on the Global Digital Compact. The fact that we frequently have some very interesting principles around many stakeholders expectation of words. But then something is to have principles, and something is to be able to shape the evolution of technology or regulation or governance according to those principles. And when a very important question, and that is why when Syed was mentioning that Saudi Arabia investing a lot of money into creating AI, a very important question is the question of resources. If we don't have resources to translate principles into governance and innovation, if we are not resources to even to facilitate engagement of communities into these processes, you end up having nice principles, but are useless to develop the technology. Do we have any other comments, questions from the audience? Otherwise, we can try to. I see that Irene is still very kindly waiting for us online. Can we try to see if Irene is audible? Can we try to speak again?
Yes, I can hear you, but there seems to be a lot of echo. I'm not
hear you.
sure if you can hear me at this point.
All right. We cannot hear you. Unfortunately. Do you want to have another round of comments and questions?
Thank you. My name is Dr. Rafael de Lisa Aguirre. I'm with the Maxwell Research Center in Germany, and I'm a scientist. And I think I'm also interested in hearing more about the literacy component, because I think when we speak about AI, often I think there's a disconnect into what exactly AI entails, and I think the literacy could also improve as far as educating our communities as to what statistics are and how AI, like what's the rationale and more or less the mathematics behind it.
I have a question we will try to then see if the other online participants can jump in. Again, the work we presented last year on AI sovereignty, one of the identified in the framework, actually a paper on AI sovereignty measures, is precisely this. Because that is something that resonates a lot with what I was mentioning. We always forget when we speak about artificial intelligence, the human component. On the one hand, if you want people to be more consumers of AI, you have to be able to understand how it functions and develop it. We have to invest in education. And on the other hand, as Kate Crawford, I'm sure you know, reminds us very well in her AI Atlas, AI is actually artificial intelligence is a misnomer because it's neither artificial nor intelligent. Is it not intelligent because it's not self-conscious, which is the first basic layer of intelligence, and it's not artificial because it entails lots of human work to build. So if we don't bet on the humans, we will not be able to produce and to regulate sustainably artificial intelligence. Do we have any other comments? Otherwise, we can try to see if either Amarin or our next online speaker, which is Alek Tarkovsky, can be audible. Amarin, could we try to have a last chance to see if we hear you?
Sure. Are you able to hear me now?
All right, so let's try to see if we have another online speaker, Alek Tarkovsky, which is messaging madly in our chat. Can we try to see if Alek Tarkovsky is audible? And then come back to Amreen, hoping she will be audible. Alek, would you like to try to speak? Can you hear us, Alek?
Luca, I think you are mentioning me, but I am unclear what you are saying. I'm sorry. The audio quality is really bad. Not sure
yes.
We
can see that the transcript. There is a very bad echo. So either we are having a DJ set and we don't know it, or we have some technical problem here. Could we try to see if who should speak? Alek, can you try to speak again, please? Alek, can you hear us? All right, it's very challenging to advance with online speakers in these conditions. Let's try to have another round of comments and questions from the audience. We have two, so let's take advantage of our participation. Let me bring the mic directly to our participants.
Thank you. I work on AI governance issues in India and then in other global majority countries. So I think what happens a lot of the times is anytime you have an idea of bringing together like an inclusive dialogue on technology, on AI, any of these things, just because of the way that these things are developed and the way that power narratives play out, even if you did manage to build something like an AI commons conversation, a lot of that conversation would end up being global north focused. I'm not sure anybody's found a solution to that, and just given the way AI is structured, where some countries come up with the norms for it, and then a lot of other countries are sort of stuck somewhere in the value chain where you're doing things like data labeling. And it's not really like you're contributing data, you're not actually benefiting from it. So I'm not sure how an AI commons would really deal with that. Like, how would you not end up just sort of reinforcing the inequalities that are already there.
Thank you very much for this. And actually, just a little bit of directed advertisement. We are having a session on Wednesday on AI from the Global Majority, where we will launch this book with some ideas on how to implement what you are asking. And now let me give the floor to my friends.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bertrand Lachapelle, and I speak here with the hat of being the Chief Vision Officer of the DataSphere initiative. When we talk about data and when we look at the question of access or openness of data, there's always a sort of binary approach where a lot of reasons justify that data is not accessible. I mean, it can be security, it can be privacy, it can be business obligations of various sorts, confidentiality, and so on. And on the other hand, the alternative seems to be only to have fully open data. And I think that we are missing the opportunity of exploring more thoroughly what is in between, what we often label or advocate as responsibly unlocking the value of data for all, which means that when we talk about commons, there's a spectrum. It can be completely available commons for absolutely everybody, or it can be dedicated commons among a set of actors. And I think in the environment, particularly around AI, there is an enormous field to explore around the notion of self-organizing data communities. The notion that when a group of actors have reasons to explore how they can share access to data in a coordinated manner among them for their own benefit, or potentially also for the benefit of third party, they need charters. They need to ask themselves a certain number of questions regarding what is the purpose of this sharing of access? What is the nature of the data that they are going to share access to? Who are the stakeholders? Who is in the group? Who is outside of the group? What is the kind of impact? Without getting into the details, we're working on a sort of guide to precisely help the actors who want to organize self-governing data communities to have a list of the questions that they should ask in advance. I want to clarify also that when we talk about data, there's a lot of focus on personal data, which raise a lot of problems, but there's an enormous capacity to leverage non-personal data and derive value from this. And when we talk about value, it's not only the economic value, the monetization, etc. It's also the social value. And the final point is that when a community is self-organizing, it is great to see them organize it for themselves, but there is a need to have a certain level of caution so that these communities are not actually detrimental to another group, not only in the access to data, but also in a cartel or antitrust or trust activity. So I just wanted to emphasize that the notion of self-organizing data communities is a field that, a little bit like Elinor Ostrom explored the way between complete privatization and full public management of the commons. She organized the governance of the commons. For data, it's the same. And we should move also from the expression data sharing to sharing data access, which is a very different situation. You don't necessarily transfer the data. So the debate is not only about data flows, it's also about, for instance, if you use federated learning, you don't move the data, but you move the model of AI to a particular data repository, and the data never leaves this repository. And so we need to explore new ways, including technological ways, to manage the access and the shared access to data. So expanding the notion of commons here.
Thank you very much, Bertrand, for these remarks. So we have now 3 online speakers that are very patiently waiting for us. So we have, in order, Amreen, then we have Alec, and then we have Gurumunti. Can we have one of those? Can we have some online speakers speaking? Is it possible? Can we have any of the online speakers speaking? So let's try. Amreen, I can see you. Let's try to see if you can finally speak. We cannot hear you. That is. No. All right, yes, that is a very good solution. So the only solution apparently we have, as the transcript people can hear you, you can deliver your speech and I will read it for you. So you can speak. The transcript people will transcribe what you are saying and I will be your voice here, because that is apparently the only thing we can do. Yes, so can we please mute the room so that she doesn't hear us while speaking? All right, so now everyone should be hearing me saying what Amreen is saying. Thank you so much. In case you are not able to read, I can read. Can I begin? Yes. She can hear a lot of talk. Unfortunately, we have a lot of technical difficulties to isolate sound and have the sound that we need. All right, so I'll begin with my speech. Perfect. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I could not catch a lot of the conversation, but I'd like to give my 2 cents in regard to AI Commons, specifically to public goods, a type of digital public goods along with other open source solutions that recognize digital public goods, content, collection, and open software. So in the context of AI digital public goods, perhaps we can start by the link between AI democratization and sustainable goals. She's hearing it. If you can hear me, unplug anything that you have and any ear plug and just speak so that you cannot hear us, I mean the noise, and I will hear you. Yes, speak. Proceed. Yes, continue. Perhaps I will continue. Like I was saying, I think it is very critical to explore the vital link between AI democratization and sustainable goals. Around 70% of the SDGs depend on yes. No, we cannot hear you. Can anyone type into the chat that only the transcript people can hear her and I'm reading it? Can you please assist me with this? Thank you. All right, let's Amreen, unfortunately, we really cannot hear you. Can we try to check if any other of the other panelists is audible? Otherwise, I think we can eliminate the online participation for today, as it's really challenging to. Okay, AI is a crucial part of the digital landscape in terms of fulfilling this map of SDGs. Essentially, has the potential to drive significant progress if accessible, that are community-driven and inclusive. This means adapt a local and adaptable tool that generally benefit the community. And to achieve this concept of digital public good, it is very essential because by supporting open and accessible technologies, digital public good can allow AI to be used responsibly and effectively across diverse contexts. So I briefly explain how digital public goods work for those relatively new to the concept. Essentially, the definition comes from the United Nations Secretary General High-Level Roadmap for Cooperation 2019. Along with these recent global policies, as well from the UN resolution on AI for Sustainable Development that took place in March through the G20 group, and to the UN Compact, they have underscored the value of digital public goods and open source AI as critical to delivering AI's benefits
we're very proud
at
to be at
scale.
the heart of this movement, working with our members as well as the open community to advance
sorry,
the
Amreen,
digital
we are
public
starting
goods
to hear you.
standard that essentially will
Increase
better
the
now,
volume.
which it'll essentially better address and recognize AI systems that truly embody the values of openness, of transparency, and of accessibility. And just recently, we introduced some fundamental updates as well to the digital public goods standard to address the unique requirements and opportunities of AI. And for those of you who are new to the DPG standard, I'd just like to briefly mention that it is a standard that's been created out of the definition of DPGs, and it's operationalized by the Digital Public Goods Alliance Secretariat. And it is a set of 9 indicators that establishes the baseline criteria or requirements that must be met in order for a solution to be recognized as a digital public good, right? So when it comes to AI, right, as AI right now continues to evolve, it is really, it's essential that we ensure that AI DPGs or AI Commons, they not only adhere to our existing principles of openness and transparency, but they also address the unique aspects of AI systems in general as well. So perhaps I can give a few examples of the kind of changes that we're going to propose to the DPG standard, if that would be all right. Okay, great. So here, one of the main changes that we are going to be proposing in the DPG standard is around openness across AI components, right? So we've expanded the requirements for AI DPGs in that solutions will now need to provide documentation for source code, for model requirements, and for open data, right? So this means that essentially anyone, anywhere, can access, they can adapt, and they can improve these systems, right? So for example, you know, if an AI model is being used, let's say for crop prediction in sub-Saharan Africa, for example, right? So local developers then should be able to adapt it to reflect the unique agricultural patterns of that region as per the climate without, you know, any issues surrounding vendor lock-in or any proprietary restrictions for that matter, right? So these are some of the IP restrictions that also come in the process of this very often. And so for this purpose, you know, on the standard side of things, we have introduced a fundamental change to the DPG standard in that it will now be mandatory for AI solutions to have open training data to qualify as a digital public good, right? And essentially, in alignment with this, under indicator 5 of the standard as well, which essentially talks about documentation, we now require detailed model cards and data sheets for AI systems. So these documents essentially, they explain how AI models work, what the intended use cases are, and also the limitations that it comes with. And this is in addition to training data, of course. So for model cards, it would contain use cases, both intended use and limitations, and it'll also capture the performance of the model. Whereas for data sheets, essentially it would include use cases, both suitable and unsuitable ones, and sufficient information to recreate that data set as well, right? So then I would also like to talk about, the fact that we have a do no harm requirement as a part of the DPG standard, right? And I would like to highlight that at the DPGA, we only focus on the design and the development of digital public goods. So in the context of AI DPGs as well, we are going to be assessing if AI solutions are essentially designed in a way that that mitigates harm, right? So, so you can understand. I mean, there is a fine balance that then we essentially have to maintain in terms of what falls under the ambit of design versus what would be counted as implementation, right? Then thirdly, I'd also like to speak about one of the major changes that we're going to make to Indicator 8 of the DPG standard, which essentially talks about adherence to applicable standards and best practices, right? So these will now have two requirements that we'll be proposing. One is adherence to the responsible AI best practices, and another is an AI risk assessment, essentially, which we've created that essentially looks into aspects around proportionality, around bias and fairness, around transparency and mitigation as well. So, so yeah, essentially, I mean, these are some of the examples to give you an idea about how AI DPGs can really enhance transparency and accountability by providing information that is essential for auditing AI systems and also subsequently reducing potential biases, right? So this openness, I would say it not only promotes trust, but then it also at the same time accelerates AI safety research, right? As then more people can, they can study the solution, they can test, and they can subsequently improve the system as well. Then lastly, I would like to talk about the fact that AI DPGs or AI commons as well, they really tackle the issue of AI monoculture, right? Where a few leading AI models, they often reflect the values of creators in specific geographies, right? Whereas with AI commons and AI DPGs, stakeholders can culturally and regionally, create and develop relevant AI systems, and they can bring in new perspectives and values into the field, and this will inevitably then create a truly global AI polyculture, so to speak. Right? So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on the topic for now. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Amreen. I hope you can hear us now. Excellent presentation. Actually, this would combine very well with the points that Alec and Gurumunti wanted to bring to the discussion. Alec, in terms of how to build policies that would embed these values of openness into the creation and the governance of an AI Commons, and then Gurumunti in terms of how to build this concretely, providing some examples on which he has been working. Can we have Alec? Are Alec and Gurumunti here connected? Alec Tarkovsky and Gurumunti Kasinathan. We have Gurumunti. Can we have Gurumunti speaking and providing the case study on which he has been working at the local level with the local Indian government on implementation of AI Commons? Gurumunti, can you hear us?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Can I have my video on?
Yeah, let's see if you can also have you on video.
I think you can hear me, but can you put my video on?
Okay.
So that I can...
We can hear you very well.
Currently, it's disabled.
which is fantastic. Let's see
Luca,
if
can I speak?
yes,
Can I take 5 minutes to share my thoughts?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, Luca, can I go ahead? Can the video be available for me?
Yes. Could we also have
Right
the
now, I'm
video?
unable to show my video. It's muted.
Yes. We are working on it. You can start speaking. You can start speaking meanwhile.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay. So, are people able to hear me in the? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, thanks everybody, and I think it's been unfortunate that there have been several glitches. I'll just take 5 minutes because I think we are severely behind schedule. So I'm going to speak on, is it possible to build the AI Commons? And I want to purposely not take a technological perspective and explore what are the components that we need to build, how will we build them, when will we build them. But I want to take a kind of a political perspective to it and start by asking the question. When you look at the way the tech uh, society or the tech economy is being built today, and when we see that AI is building on the current challenges and problems that tech has created for the world today, then the question that I think we need to ask, is it possible that the current paradigm of tech and the current paradigm of AI continue? When we know that the current paradigm is absolutely necessary, absolutely the cause for a lot of economic challenges, we have enormous inequities in income and wealth distribution, the worst since we started documenting them. And that's clearly because of tech barons controlling the AI infrastructure, the tech infrastructure across the world. And therefore, is that the world that we want? We can see political disturbances where tech is disrupting elections, democracies, and creating huge challenges for democracy all over the world. And therefore, is it that we can only imagine tech in the way that is deployed today? And again, if you look at the issues of jobs and unemployment and gig work, obviously we realize that the current deployment of technology, the current deployment of AI is not at all the ideal scenario. We certainly are suffering AI, we are suffering big tech. And therefore, the question is not, is it possible to build AI commons? The question to me is it possible for us not to build it? And the answer to me is clearly we need to build it because we need to overcome the challenges of the current models. What are the challenges we have today? We have the challenge that we inherently believe that technology can be only developed by for-profit players. And even if you look at OpenAI subsequently got taken over by a corporation, and then it's no longer available in the way it was envisaged. Therefore, availability of technology and AI purely on market-based models will not help. The previous speaker, Amreen, spoke about digital public goods, and that's certainly a very important component of the AI Commons if you want to build. Secondly, the current models are highly centralized. So we have the big tech corporations which are controlling the tech deployment. And as Amreen also mentioned, there are a few AI models that are available, and therefore, not only it is the kind of a monopoly and a monoculture, as she mentioned, but it also leads to centralization of power, concentration of power in the hands of certain few people, the oligarchs, the tech oligarchs, and that is very antithetical to democracy. The most dangerous thing is, of course, not any of these. The centralization is a problem. The stratification due to market is a problem. But the biggest challenge is proprietization, by which the code is hidden from us. We don't know in what way the code functions. We are told that algorithms can't be understood, AI can't be understood, AI cannot be explained. But we cannot allow something to run society, run the economy when we don't understand what it does. And we cannot simply trust people who tell us that it's doing the right thing. We already know that it has got full of biases. We know that it is iniquitous. We know that it harms people, and therefore the current AI models that we have, which promote concentration of political power, economic power, which promote inequalities in society, inequalities in income and wealth distribution, which push unemployment and which push social strife, and therefore the current models have to certainly be replaced. And when we have agreed on that, then we need to understand that the most important part of technology, digital technology, which we usually forget, and which is what makes tech companies so profitable, is that unlike other technologies, unlike other commons items, the digital commons is possible to replicate infinitely. Replication costs are nil, and therefore the traditional problem of commons, that it would degrade, it would not be available because it was overexploited, does not apply to digital commons. Whether it is data, whether it is code, whether it is software, we know that we can replicate it at no cost. It is this that has made tech majors powerful and enabled them to build their monopolies by preventing the replication, and that's what we need to avoid. And therefore, if we think that we need to create AI commons, then it has to be the antithesis of the challenges that we have mentioned. It has to be bottom up, it has to be decentralized, it has to be local, it has to be available to people, it has to be participated. Decisions about AI need to be made by bringing in people into the discussion, and discussions cannot be had only by, decisions cannot be taken only by the owners of companies or by governments alone. And therefore, I think the political imperative of AI commons needs to be understood first, needs to be agreed on first. And from this political understanding, we shall be able to build the technological understanding. I want to give a very small example of the work that my organization, IT for Change, has been doing to actually deploy such a AI commons that I've been talking about. So we have used small language models which are available in the form of open source algorithms. We run these open source algorithms, uh, uh, constituting AI on servers inside schools. So we work in the government school system, and inside the school on a desktop, the AI model runs. So the data remains in the school, the code remains in the school, the analysis remains in the school. The needs of the AI are decided by the teacher, and this model has been functioning for the last year in government schools in South India. And I think this is an example of how we can deploy AI commons. And unlike a chat GPT, which takes the whole world by storm, the AI commons is not going to be one thing that everybody in the world is going to be used. It's going to be bottom up, means several such AI commons contributions are going to come from different parts of the world. They will federate, they will network, and that is how the AI commons is going to be built. I just want to share these ideas, and I think the work that we are doing in the area of public education using small language models and decentralized local AI is something that may be relevant to the idea of the commons, AI commons. Thank you so much, Luca. Thank you, everybody. I hope people were able to hear me. I'll stop now, and if there is a space for question and answer session, I'll be happy to respond. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Guru. And this actually, it was a very good way to end up. We are reminded by our technical assistants that we only have 2 minutes left. So I'm not sure we will have questions now. We already had comments and questions in the previous segment, but this
Thank you, Luca.
Guru, this was an excellent
And
way of
wrapping
up to demonstrate that actually the theoretical concept we have been discussing over the past hour and a half, they could be implemented in practice. They are not only theory; they can be made real with a little bit of creativity and organization. Of course, creativity and organization frequently is not enough, and resources are key, and that is also a very good takeaway that we should have from this session. Now, as we have to wrap up, I would like to thank all the participants that had the patience to be here. This has been an incredibly challenging session to moderate due to our online problems with online participants. Thank you very much to everyone. And of course, if we have more comments and questions, we can bring them over coffee here. Thank you very much to everyone.